Welcome back, dear friends. I'm Paco again. Welcome to the fifth episode of Food Talk. And our guest of today is Linda Ulāne, if I pronounce it correctly. Thank you. And Linda is from Latvia. She's an educator. She's a part of the NGO Created the Environment Yourself. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Welcome, Linda. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm awake.
Okay, that's correct. I know you had a very intense time. You were telling me before. So I'm very happy you're here today with us. Again, you have really beautiful headphones, so I'm very, I'm very excited. And immediately, so since we were talking before, and you were telling me a lot about yourself and about where you work, in what you're active. So maybe it's better if you introduce yourself to us because you have a lot of things to say. So can you tell something about you yourself and where you're active?
Yes. So hello, Linda from Liepaja. It's a beautiful coastal city in Latvia. And I am a part of an NGO called Radi Vidi Pats, which means create the environment yourself. And I have various roles. Sometimes I'm a paid worker, mostly project manager there. I'm also an educator, trainer. Now I'm becoming, again, a volunteer, which I don't think is a lesser role. It's as important as a project managers and so on. And what I do in the organization, we are quite small, but very active. So basically everyone does many things, starting from carrying chairs for an event or cleaning the garden from rubbish up to writing like big projects to get funding for our cool ideas, such as community garden.
Exactly. And that's actually what I wanted to ask you is how did you start working with the community garden? What was the passage, your personal passage that brought you there?
Yes. So the organization is almost 18 years old, and I'm not there since the beginning. And when I appeared in the organization, they were partly renting, partly squatting one very beautiful house. And there were also volunteers living. And in front of the house, I remember we started to build some type of garden with the herbal spiral and so on. So lots of experiments, loads of failures as well. But I think then already it was evident that we really want a garden for the people who are involved in the community. But we had to leave the house quite soon afterwards. And then for many years, nothing happened in relation to the garden. And then in, I think, 2019, a new opportunity came. There's such a thing as Active Citizen Fund. Mm-hmm. And they were offering grants that actually were responding the needs that we had in the previous years. Basically, when we saw this opportunity, we're like, oh my God, this is the next natural step of Radi Vidi Pats. And the step was, I would say that with many amazing, beautiful exceptions, in general, Latvians are quite passive. We don't go out in the streets so as much as I think it would be needed. There's a very low participation in election, also among young people. And so we got funding to check what kind of initiatives, what kind of tools, what kind of activities would help to shake Liepaja people because people don't believe they can change the place they live, the city they live, because of political reasons, because of history, when we were taught, like, don't stand out, don't act, and so on. And somehow it passes on from generation to generation. So we wanted to see what are the things that can be a game changer in this passivity story. And in our project, we made plenty of things, starting with monthly discussions, then with bike rides to the places of cities that we don't like, places in our city that we don't like, and talk to people what could be changed. We had discussions with experts about various topics. We had and one of these activities, I will not go on into all, but one of I think very important activities that will have an impact even after now the project is finished is we created our community garden. It's urban. It's very in the middle of the city. And the idea was to, it's also, of course, about growing your own food and educating kids about the miracle from the seed into the big plant, but also about creating a space where people can come together, meet. It was also the COVID time when we created this garden. So it's just a physical ability to meet outdoors, but also to meet people from very various backgrounds and fields of interest. And then talk about things we like, things we don't like, encourage each other for changes. And actually the place itself was a very good micro example of how to change things, because we built it in a very, degraded area. Like there's no soil. There's pieces of asphalt and urban garbage. We dig a bit and glass comes out and so on.
Oh, okay.
And it's also across the street from a bar yard of bars. So lots of people went to pee there. So actually they called it a peeing meadow or something like this. So we created in a very, very, let's say, tough place. And it's really nice to see how people can come together and turn something a bit sad into, in my opinion, pretty cool and amazing place.
Okay, very beautiful. Actually, now that you were talking, I was thinking, since also you were talking about the attitude of people of your city to be, as you were saying, a bit passive, not so participative. And also, so then I was thinking how this, and if there was, but you can tell me, how this process of, again, growing food, taking care of the soil, taking care of the space, being together, all these activities that the people had to do together and to take care of a common space. How do you think this impact actually the population around, maybe the neighbors or the whole city? How was the impact on the city?
Actually, it's there are different directions I can go with this. So one is, we didn't expect that the garden will be created so fast. We thought that in the second summer, we can do a garden opening ceremony. We actually wrote it in the project, and in the second summer, there's a garden opening. But it was done already on the first year. So we were surprised actually how quickly things went on, even keeping in mind that it was COVID time when it was forbidden to come together for a long period of time. But from other point of view, I always want like more and faster. So I think only now it's going to be the third season of the garden. And I think that now we start to collect the fruits of the previous 2 years. Because yes, there were people coming, there were families with kids coming. The kids love the garden. There's a water pump, to play with. There is also this story of like seeding and seeing how things that you put inside can grow. It was also an accidental hangout place for the people from the bars, which was nice because sometimes we just went. They were like, I don't know, young men just sitting, smoking, hanging out, and we were just going them and asking, hey guys, we need help with watering the garden because it's like plus 30 degrees and the plants are dying, and then they were just carrying the water buckets. So it was a accidental involvement of them. But now I have calls, and the organization has like messages from different either individuals, either collectives, companies, enterprises, that they want to have their own bed, like plant bed, where they can plant things, and it's their organization or their enterprise little corner, which I think it's super cool because it didn't happen in the first 2 years. So I think not only climate-wise things are growing slowly here, but also regarding people's activities. They want to check first, because we have loads of visitors. We cannot even count how many people have visited the garden, because it's also a good spot to pass by, but people go in and check. But not many of these visitors actually put effort in it. But now, I guess they have seen it's safe, the garden is there, other people do things there, and also it's becoming more and more stylish. I mean, urban gardens in Europe, it's a like top thing to do, and people maybe realize that part, and now it's actually happening. And what I love to see is that our aim of bringing very various people together, it's actually happening, because we have I know some elderly ladies coming on their bicycles from the far end of the city in the super heat just to take care of the plants. And there was also one elderly man from a neighboring house who created his own little spot. I have to see if he's coming back this year, because there were some changes in the garden and in the spot that he took care of, but I hope he will still come back. And then we also bring our international guests. It's one of the things that we are proud of. So of course we show them. And actually next week we start a training course, 1 week training course that will happen all in garden. It's about active participation, and to see together with these people, we'll explore how garden can work as this active participation platform for youngsters. So it is working slowly, but I can name concrete examples to say, it's getting where we actually were intending it to go.
Oh, that's beautiful. And actually, it's a after 3 years, the third season, now you're starting to see results. But I think is an honest time. No, as you said, people needs to understand that there are people behind that are taking care, and they see it growing, so they start to believe in the initiative. I think is the right time. So I'm very happy for the success of the project, and actually also that you were talking. Now I'm asking, what the kind of activities in a garden like this can be used in an active citizenship project, for example?
Well, the first thing that comes in my mind, it's actually one of the recent things. It's a seed and plant exchange. Because what we have talked a lot in our organization before is that the monopolization of seeds, that we are losing actually old school seeds, because the ones that you buy in conventional shops, let's say, they don't create, quite often, they don't create seeds that you can use for the next year. Mm-hmm. So it's important for us to exchange these create these events where people come exchange the seeds from their grandmas and so on of beans and different flowers. And it's also, I think it's very important step to be active in preservation of our own culture, in the times when everything is globalization has many beautiful aspects, but it also has loads of risks. And these little events can actually also create this. For me, it's very educational. I'm not a plant freak, I would love to be, but I don't know so many things. And when I meet these people and they talk about where each seed comes from, I think it's creates some kind of sense of belonging to the place where you are, and to keep on maintaining the somehow pass on from the roots to the fruits, this kind of attitude a bit. So this is the last thing. Then another what I mentioned before is just to see that physically, like with your own hands, even like a young person who maybe doesn't feel that they have any power in the city at all. They even maybe cannot go to vote yet because of the age, let's say. And they can come and with their own, basically just time, they don't even need specific skills because they can learn everything in a garden. They can change a specific place. They can change the environment. Mm-hmm. And not only like physically with building new flower beds or planting things or cutting grass or whatever, but they can also, we are super open for people to come and create their own events there. So there was one how do you call it, a pupil council from one school, from art school, and they created their own let's say just their own event in the garden, and part of this event was just taking care of the garden a bit, so it's just, I don't know, it's you can come for already organized events, and then when you feel safe enough, then I see people actually are using the space for their own ideas and activities. And word activity, I know it's overused, but in my country, it's very important word, because we need more of people-initiated activities, not activities for people, but activities from people. Yes. And Garden offers this opportunity.
Oh, I understand. It's a very, also inspirational place to have, again, a little green corner in a city neighborhood. So I think it can really be impactful. And as you are describing, it is impactful in many different ways. Also, yes. Just by itself, just inspiring creativity in a group of young artists, art students. Like, wow, okay, it's already a lot. It's really important. And okay, so I see that actually the garden is really, really active on the spot on the territory. But I also,
I mean, maybe it sounds like a pure sugar, but it's not like that. I'm just pointing out the good things, the reasons why we still continue with this, why I inspire, why we invite other peoples. But it's not all sugar. We have loads of angry internet commenters that have seen the garden in November or March, and those are very ugly times for gardens. I mean, for our climate, like it's a sad moment to be. And then and of course we have loads of materials that still need to build up, and then it's just talking about it's a place for, I don't know, junkies and bums and whatever, and so many advices are thrown at us, like you should do this, you have to, and we are a super cool idea when you will come and show us how to do it. But of course, it's not happening like that. But it's not all pure sugar. It's not like every day there's a bunch of youngsters or ladies working. Of course, it's not like that. It's still a work in progress.
Yes, I can imagine also, as we were saying before, people needs time to trust the whole initiative. And then, the famous and funny process of just free online bullying. Why not? So why don't disturb the people that they're doing a beautiful project? Slowly, I'm sure you will also impact them. And also what I wanted to ask you is that I know that you not only are physically in the garden, but actually with your initiative, with your organizations, you were traveling a lot in the recent time.
Yes.
And why you were traveling? What was the project? What was the idea?
The idea was also born a few years ago when we applied for Erasmus Plus accreditation, which means this guaranteed support in the field of youth. And the direction we chose was Green Europe, so climate action, environmental awareness, and so on. And one thing that we know for sure in our organization is that we don't know it all. We need to go and learn for sure. There are many things we are learning by doing, by experimentation, by inviting people, but we are not experts of community urban gardens. But we have colleagues around Europe who are doing this very well, and they're doing youth work in the gardens, with the gardens, and from the gardens. And we decided, okay, let's go visit them on the spot. Let's help them in the gardens, and through this help, through these meetings, let's see what cool ideas we can bring back. And therefore, we went for a 2-week-long trip with a van, because we are also trying to reduce flights and encourage and show examples of how possible is actually green travel. I mean, we still were going with a van with the gas. Yes, and we went to Vilnius and Kaunas in Lithuania. And then we went to Tvind in Denmark. And then Vilnius and Kaunas, those are urban community gardens made by a local, basically inhabitants that live around the gardens. And in Tvind in Denmark, it was a teachers training college. And so it's a pure community garden. It's not an urban one. It's in the countryside, but it's taken care by the students. Of course, there's a person in charge, but the students do the work, and the garden actually produce quite a lot of things for them for the whole year. Then we went to Berlin, the capital, unofficial, in my opinion, just the capital of community urban gardens. In 2 days, we saw like 9 gardens, and I'm sure it was just a small speck of all. We didn't even go to the super main famous ones. So it was very inspiring to see not only what kind of work is done there, but also what kind of support they get from the municipality, for example. And it's something that we are still dreaming about, but it shows that it's possible. And then we went to Gdynia in Poland, and also to Gdańsk. And in Gdynia, we met youngsters who want their own garden, and they have troubles finding the space, but finally they have found it. So it's cool to visit. Like, it was very various. So we visited gardens that don't have youth work, and we were together exploring and also sharing our experiences about how to actually involve youngsters, because they need them. They were actually admitting they would really need the younger people. They would need people who are good with communication and online and so on. It could be perfect interaction. And then so this university garden was completely different story. Berlin Garden is just very inspirational about how various and different gardens can be, and how, I mean, the people are so active that they even have these splittings in a garden. You know, some people say, no, we don't want to go this direction, so we go and create our own garden in cemetery or so they have such a high level of people's requests. Let's do something, let's change, let's grow. And it was also very inspirational. And then the last point was visiting a youth initiative. They are not even official organization. They're like,
okay.
And to hear from their point of view how they actually want to be involved. So they also changed some our perceptions that we had before. And because we are in our crew, we were 6 people. There were 2 young people, and all the other people were also young people, but over 30. So I think it's very healthy to hear from different points of view, and it's ridiculous to talk about youngsters without youngsters. So I think this Poland point was extremely important for us.
Okay, I see. Wow. Okay, it was a very long journey. All these different cities.
And intense, yes.
Yeah, I can see it. But yeah, I would like to ask you now just a last question, because our time is about to finish. Just one thing that I wanted to add, because I see that you're very passionate and you're very connected, and you really like what you're doing. You really are really inspiring on your work. So I would like to say, what is your vision for the future? I would say how young people can use your method, your way of working, how they can use urban gardening, like how all of this can turn into something that will help us in the dark times to come.
Yes, there are a few things I that have sprouted in my observations. One thing, it might be also a bit longer answer, so you cut if you need. So one thing is creating the sense of belonging. This is extremely important for the also this COVID generation, youngsters that were affected a lot by isolation. But not only, I believe that we, young and old, we have completely lost the connection with nature. I know that people will listen to this and say, no, that's bullshit. Not, yeah, because you're listening a podcast about food. Obviously, you're not the ones I'm talking about, but the majority, I see that there's lack of understanding that we are nature as well. We are also destroyers of nature, but that it's also us. It's so intertwined, and not always in the city there's a chance to rebuild this connection. And I think urban garden, growing your own food in the city, even on your windowsill, it's I think it's essential. It's not only a cool thing to do. I think it's extremely important. Another thing, if a young person comes and creates something, they feel also responsible of it. And those are loads of skills that you can gain through this, loads of soft skills, loads of communication skills, responsible of your own place. I would also link it to be a bit patriotic because this passivity I was talking before, I think it's also because we don't feel responsible of our own country in a way. And I'm not talking about this super unhealthy wave of nationalism that is sweeping over the Europe, but of this like, hey, this is my place. I'm also responsible, not someday mystical government or whatever, but I can create this.
Somebody needs to take care of it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yes. And then growing food, I can't say that the food that we grow in this pink meadow with debris, urban debris, it's super mega healthy one. But through this, we can talk about healthy food. We can talk about what is the thing you put in yourself and what it does to you. So it gives us a stepping stone for these conversations about the food we put ourselves. Where does it travel from? What does it have? What does it have inside, and what kind of impact it leaves to other young people across the globe? It's also our choices, and our impact over there is very big that we are not aware of, and young people also are not aware of it quite often. And just human being is not a lonely island. It's a place to meet. It's a place to steal ideas. This is something that I always suggest to people, to come steal ideas, not only about gardening, but anything else you hear, art project or I know, active participation directions where to go and to grow as well. Yes, and I think this is also only aspect, like the main things that come right now, but there are more, especially when you are in the garden and when you meet people there, then it's just like, oh my God, this can also be done here. That's a cool idea. And we should invite these people. And the school came and they left such a good feedback and yes.
I see it as how dynamic it is.
Yes. And by the way, very important thing that I cannot emphasize enough how cool it is working is the community meals. This is something that our organization does a lot. And on the first year, so our garden, now we will start to have, but until now we didn't have that. This is only my flower bed. I plant my tomatoes, I take it. You plant wherever you want and you harvest whatever you want. And I don't know, is it a cultural thing or what? But in the first year, people were not harvesting. It was like, I didn't plant it, so why should I take it? Of course, people like ate some strawberries and these quick things, but like potatoes or beetroots or tomatoes, there were loads of them. So we called disco soup. So it's a mixture. You make a soup with whatever elements are coming, something from the garden, something people brought it, and these food parties, as we call them, it's such amazing outreach element, because through food for free we can reach to the people who are coming to the bars and who don't care so much about garden or don't even understand what it is. But we start this conversation through food. Food also attracts young people. Yes, so communal meetings with the food from the garden or just whatever people bring, soup parties. It works. It's a tool.
Okay, so there are so many implications and so many elements that we can take in consideration when also how to apply as a methodology or connected to youth work. So really, congratulations for all of your initiatives, and I wish you all the best, all the good luck for the future coming. I thank you again for being here. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Paco.
In the description of the video, you will find all the links to get in contact with Linda and all the initiatives with Creative Environment yourself. And don't forget to comment if you have specific questions you want to ask for the next person we were gonna interview. And goodbye, and see you for the next episode. Bye bye.